Hi, this is Teresa from Phoenix Gate Crafts, and I have a brand new setup so I can do stuff and you can actually see it. It's my first time using it, so wish me luck. So today what we're talking about is measuring, knitting, and crochet. It isn't just swatches you have to measure, it's measurements for fitted garments. So you have tools you can use. These often come in kits and stuff. This is a Chow Goo one, but they look different sometimes. Let me see. Here's another common one that you can find. And ultimately, they have inches, they have centimeters. These only go for a little bit, but my personal favorite is an actual tape measure. And I like these because, ow, they retract. So, not sure exactly where I got this one. Probably a yarn store of some kind. But anyway. But there are a few different ways of dealing with measurements based on the craft that you are doing and how the stitches are kind of affected, as well as color work, which I know doesn't seem like it belongs here, but planning for color changes can be a little tricky, but not in crochet. So clearly this is crocheted. And measuring crochet, we're doing this first because this is the easy one. So all you do is line up your zero with the top and then see where you land at the bottom. As you can see, this is just under 3 inches. And quite frankly, if I were to stretch this a little bit, because remember, crochet tends to stretch out a little bit, especially if it's heavy and it's worn. So you can probably negotiate that this is actually 3 full inches, as you can see. I always like to give them a little bit of a tug because, you know, this is a pre-blocked measurement. After you wash it, it can expand. Now, adding color to crochet is easy. This is a different color. Okay, so as you can see, I finished off this row. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to pull this loop through here. And I always like to start with a slip knot, and I pull it through. Then you can pull this down, and if you want to carry it up, you can. If you want to work over your tails like I typically do, you can do that also. I'm only going to work over this tail because now I can do whatever the heck it was that I was going to do. So, ta-da! Ta-da! And I'm not doing this to show you how to change colors. That's not a technique I really care to show, just because there's so many really good videos on how to do it. What I'm doing is I'm showing you that once you've changed colors, as you can see, the measurement is easy to do. You know, it's just the next row of whatever you're doing. So now I've got one row after whatever I've done. And it's just the next row. So, you know, I've done 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of double crochet. I just change colors whenever I want to change colors, and then I'll do that row. So if there's any kind of like 2, 3, 4, 10 row repeats, you just start on the row that you want to change the color. It's a little trickier when it comes to knitting. So, as you can see with knitting, this one, it's a little bit more complicated because you measure underneath your needle. I recommend laying the cord out as far as you can, getting all your threads out of the way, and then you measure starting right underneath your needle. So you line up that 0 line with underneath your needle, and then you measure down to wherever it is. And as you can see, this is about 2 1/4 inches. Now, we do not measure the needle itself because those loops aren't stitches yet. They are on the needles. They're going to become the next row of stitches. And here's how you can tell that this is what happens. And it's really obvious on the first stitch. So we're going to pick this up and knit it, and we're going to knit a couple. And you see how this becomes complicated because the new stitches are on the needle. They're not stitches yet. This stitch that's on the needle here, this dark blue one right here, this is becoming a knit stitch, and it's not a knit stitch until I pull it off the needle. And now, as you can see, it is a knit stitch down here. And that's the trick with knitting. You can see the last row you did underneath the needles. So that's a knit, that's a knit. If I decided this next one's going to be a purl, look at that, that's a purl. It's in front, you can see that it's this stitch right below. So here's the trick with changing colors. When you're knitting, you have to plan ahead. So say you want color on row 1. You have to actually add the color when you're knitting, the last row of the repeat. So say this last one was row 4. I am knitting row 4. Thank goodness row 4 is all knit stitches, because that way row 1, where I want the color to actually start, is going to be here. Now this is different for color work patterns. This is just, when you're picking a spot to switch colors because you want stripes or whatever. A color work pattern is going to tell you, the first row of color work is going to be this row. But it is going to show and start showing the actual pattern in the row after. So it becomes a little confusing if you overthink it. It's one of those things, you're probably going to have to just follow your pattern and trust it, which is a little difficult. But in the end, it will make sense. Have patience. So, I hope this didn't confuse you anymore. But I just thought that, trying this setup, I'd try out a quick and easy video. Good luck with knitting and color work, and happy crafting. Bye!